Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So let's continue with our discussion. Last time we stopped at while looped, which is this one, and also I think it was a comment or multi-comment. But before we proceed to other succeeding topics, at this point I'd like to at least give you some tips as to how to learn to program. So at the moment you are just following me, or at least so far with our discussions in Julia programming language, is that you've just followed me at least in coding. But you have to understand that number one, for you to really learn to do some programming, uh, it requires practice, of course. It requires failures, meaning to say you get some errors and then you try to fix. That's how you learn. So don't just like try to write the codes that I've written when you see me like showing some codes, for example, but try to understand why it is the case and try to play around, try to change some of the codes that I've written, for example. Instead of say hello world or hello Al, maybe you can say hello Ahmed, hello what other names, for example. You can do that, and then you can also. So what I'm trying to say is that play around with the different inputs into your codes, and then see if you get some errors. Try to fix it, and the thing is, unlike before, when I was learning how to program, um, it takes so much time just to fix small errors, simply because you have to search over the internet, try to find the solutions. And back then we don't have Gen AI, but with the advent of Gen AI, you can simply paste your codes, and then you should be able to get your answer, right? It will actually try to explain to you why that is. So, for example, one of the things that you might want to understand is, okay, I've teach you about while loop, but what if like I don't understand it yet? So maybe I want to have it explained step by step. So what we can do is you can simply go to ChatGPT. So say ChatGPT. So go here. Then you can just paste. Like for example, I have a Julia codes, and I am a beginner. Please help me understand the following step by step, and then you just have to paste your code. But there's actually a way for you to format it into code. So all you have to do is just press the back code, right, which is next or immediate prior to the number one in your um, keyboard. So prior to number one, you have this tilde, and then that's also where the back code is. So you have to uh, press the press that three times, and then hold shift and enter, and then after that another sets of back code 1 2 3, and then inside it you paste your code. So that one usually that's um, the the markdown formatting used for codes, and so that ChatGPT will also be able to at least have an idea where does the code starts, right? But I think even without that, I think it should work as well. But it's a good practice to also have that, if ever, just to have that separation from the main body of the text and those that are considered codes. So if I enter this, so there you go, and then it will try to actually explain everything, and then so now it can so full code, and then so we have here, so it's actually a while loop. In this case it's able to determine it's a while loop, and then so on and so forth, right? So it's able to explain everything for you, so you can just go to ChatGPT in this case, right? The other options that you may want to check is actually Claude. Claude, this is the one that I actually use, but you can actually, so I'm not sure if you really have to sign in. I think you don't actually. Let's try to go to Claude and let's ask Claude. Okay, so ask Claude. Not sure how. Try Claude. So it seems like you really have to put your email. So let me just put mine, if ever. Unfortunately, you will be able to see my. Okay, so I have a I have a subscription in Claude because I use it actually for coding, and it's actually the one that is best when it comes to Julia programming. So we can just paste our prompt earlier. So if I can actually go back here to ChatGPT. By the way, I'm using Zen browser, so that's why. So I have it here. So I'm actually now in ChatGPT, and I can just paste it here. So you can see the back code earlier. It's actually formatted as something like this, like a code already. So Claude can actually identify it, right? So if I run that, so between ChatGPT and Claude, Claude is actually much better in for coding. It is what is this good for querying about codes, for example. So in terms of the benchmark, Claude is, as far as I know, better compared to ChatGPT. Now, so that's it. The other piece that I'd like to also tips that I want to give you is that there are so many tutorials in Julia programming languages. So you can also check in YouTube other tutorials uh, for Claude. I mean for Julia, and then yeah, you can work in parallel with what I'm teaching you, at least for the Julia programming languages used here in uh, Islamic and Digital Humanities. Now the thing is, the Julia that we are using so far is running using Google Colab, right? And um, for Google Colab, we have what is this? It needs to be connected to a server, so meaning to say you need to be online for it to run. But you might find in other tutorials that you can actually run Julia even without an internet, right? You can actually install it and then you can just run it, right? So, and that's actually what I'm going to do after this session. I'm going to what is this install Julia and teach you how to install it into your system. But of course, there are several tutorials also on that one. So if in case I'm not going to show you it in details, you might also consult other tutorials on how to install that, right? The one main reason is that I'm using Mac, so you might be using Windows. So, but again, it's just it's actually just a usual application that you install in your system. So, how you install other softwares is just the same as how you install Julia as well. So should be more or less the same in terms of the process at least. So I guess that's something that I'd like to emphasize is that number one, you should not just follow me, but try to also look into other tutorials, try to modify the codes that I've written, um, and try to commit some errors, like for example, right, so that um, you'll be able to learn, right? So for example, if I say I want to put some errors, assuming right? And say count, for example, and I say this is while count is 0, and then I say um, my count, and then here I say my count, and then I run this, it will actually give me an error simply because I don't have my count initiated. So first it has to connect to us to a server. So now it has connected, and now I have an error. So the good thing is that with Google Colab is that it has already a Gemini, and Gemini to some extent can also do Julia programming. So let's see. So I pressed explain error, and let's see if it's actually able to determine what's the main problem here. But if not, you can also copy this again and then go to Claude. So where is Claude? ChatGPT. So now in Claude I can also say I have this new code, and then I put back quote again, and then shift enter, and then so shift enter, you don't press enter to actually uh, have this formatted for you, and then after that shift enter again. I know you can just actually arrow down, and then say but I am getting this error. So and then back quote again, 1 2 3, and then hold shift and then press enter. There you go. And then you go back to your error earlier, and then you copy this, and then you can just actually, yeah, actually you can copy everything. Show or hide, copy cell output. There you go. And then you can just go back to your um, Claude again, and then paste it, and then enter it, and then it will try to explain to you. So the problem is that, okay, so you define a variable called account, and so on, so on and so forth. So it's actually able to understand uh, what's going on here, and in fact Gemini was also able to detect the problem. So those are the, at least the advantage of having Gen AI nowadays, and so you should also try using it, right? So there you go. Alhamdulillah. I hope you learned something, and see you in my next tutorial. Assalamu alaikum.